So, every garden has flowers and weeds, right? And whatever you water, you're going to grow. And we have been accidentally growing a lot of weeds, watering the weeds in our garden and not realizing it. And a lot of talk therapy, a lot of coaching, a lot of YouTube videos on motivation these days are trying to talk you into having a really positive mindset. But I find that often that's like cutting the top off of weeds, because you can jump up and down and walk on fire with Tony Robbins. And then a week later, you feel like you're right back to where you were.
Did you know that only 1.9% of women business owners, 0.9% of Black business owners, and just 0.5% of Black women business owners ever cross the $1 million mark? Well, that changes right here. If you are ready for high-level, high-income conversations about all things millions, your mission, your mindset, your methodologies, your mandate, your movement, your messaging, your marketing, your metrics, and of course, your money, just by listening, your income is going all the way up. Every week, you'll hear powerful stories, transformative interviews, and $1 million business growth insights to help you scale and sustain a 7-figure business with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. I am your host, Dr. Darnyelle, award-winning spiritual business growth strategist, 8-figure entrepreneur, and God girl on a mission to help you experience abundance in your life because of your business. This is the Move to Millions podcast. Welcome home. It is with so much joy and adoration that I welcome you back to another episode of the Move to Millions podcast. Y'all ain't ready for this conversation. I don't know. I've had a lot of amazing guests on this show. This particular episode, it hits different in so many ways. First of all, the guests showed up in an energy that is calm, that is confident, and that really just created the baseline of our time together, which was amazing. Then he led me through an activity live on the show to demonstrate one of the points he wanted to make based on a question. And he just continued to follow through with so much greatness that my body is still vibrating at a higher level. I'm so excited that you are here to listen to this particular episode, to watch this particular episode and my conversation with Tim Shurr. Tim Shurr is a world-renowned high-performance mind architect for millionaires, business owners, and high-performing professionals. Tim quickly frees people from mental blocks and elevates peaceful achievement using subconscious reprogramming strategies developed over 37 years of research. Tim has written 7 books, including One Belief Away and Get Out of Your Way, and is featured in the award-winning movie Zero Limits. He will rapidly optimize your mental operating system for peak performance and help you see invisible opportunities that accelerate success and inner peace. And listen, I'm here to tell you, the exercise he walked me through, while it was one that I have done in pieces before, the way he was able to unlock the block in literally minutes was game-changing. Grab your Move to Millions podcast notebook. Make sure that you have tissues, some water to keep yourself hydrated and your energy flowing through your body. And let's jump into my conversation with Tim Shurr. Tim, I am so excited to welcome you to the Move to Millions podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great. And this is wonderful because I'm a big fan of your show. I've been listening to your podcast on my walks every day this week. And now here we are. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
That means so much to me. You don't even know. I'm so grateful. I've been checking you out online and seeing the goodness that you've been pouring into the world for 30 plus years, which is amazing. Yes. And so I'm just so grateful to even be here in this moment, fully present in this conversation with you. Now, just as we get started, you know, everyone's heard your professional bio and we know how good you are on paper, but I'm wondering if there is something that you would love to share with the audience that'll really help us to ground us into the conversation that we're going to have today that was not in your professional bio.
That's an excellent question. So I want people to know how much I care about them. Right? How much I care about you, how much I care about the struggle that we go through, right? Being in business for over 30 years and being an entrepreneur before I knew what that word was. And the massive amounts of uncertainty, the loneliness that I experienced, the crushing pressure, the arguments that would happen between my wife and I when she would be frustrated because I never knew what we were going to earn that month, and that I needed to go get a real job, and all the pressures that come up with running a business and being in a good marriage and dealing with the family. And, we don't talk about that. Everybody's talking about how to make more money or how to, try to get to the next level. And so I really care about the well-being of who we are and how we go out into the world. I know that sounds kind of messy right now. Usually I'm much smoother, but yeah, that's what I really want people to know, because I've been talking about doing interviews and helping people to live their best lives for a long time. But it really comes down to, are you getting the most amount of joy that you can every day? Or are you just stressing out because you think you're not where you're supposed to be at? We keep chasing something, and whatever that something is. And if I could get it into people's heads and into their hearts, just one idea, it's that you're already enough. You've already won. So let's just live today like it's a bonus round.
Okay, so I want to thank you guys all for coming out to the Move to Millions podcast. That's a mic drop, and we're calling it a show. No, I mean, that was amazing. Like, when you first started talking about the pressure that we feel and experience in this business entrepreneurship journey, I was like, okay, so he's not pulling any punches. We're getting right into it, which I love. Because you know me, I want to have a real conversation. I feel like there's way too many shows out there that placate the entrepreneur, and they don't keep it real. And specifically, this season is all about when success is no longer the problem. Like, your success is inevitable. So let's just assume you're going to be successful. What are the barriers to creating an environment for that success to create the legacy that you came into your business for in the first place? And what I love about what you just said just now as we got started is that there is this pressure, internal pressure as well as external pressure. And the pressure, I feel like often, and I can't wait to get your take on it, it feels like it's being compounded based on what's happening in the world today. And people don't know where to go to get relief from the pressure. And that's why I'm so excited that we get to have this conversation. So talk to me a little bit about, from your perspective in doing the amazing work that you do as a high performance consultant and leader, and being in and around business as long as you have, you've seen your fair share of pressure. You just told us that, right? So
yes,
let's first define pressure, because it can mean different things for different people. And then I would just love to hear like some of your best demonstrated practices for how to deal with this pressure in real time without more effort. That's the key. Not more work. Yeah. How do we alleviate the pressure without doing more work?
Yeah, I'm all about becoming a peaceful achiever. So we have definitions of pressure and definitions of success. So we're going to assume you're going to be successful, but what does that mean? I guess what we're talking about is, financially you're hitting your numbers, right? And so you have enough money where you don't have to worry if you're going to be able to pay your mortgage or mortgages and eat tonight, right? So you're comfortable. You have that level of financial freedom or abundance. But a lot of people have a lot of money and do not feel successful. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he was making $3 million a year, and he was constantly afraid he was going to run out of money. And so you think, how can you make that much money and still feel like you're going to run out? And it's because we have these beliefs in our mind that are like a mental malware that's running in our mental operating system. These beliefs that we picked up in childhood that make us feel like we're not enough, we're not safe. So we become super achievers, or the one that's always helping everybody, or the perfectionist, right? And so, or the rebel. And so we have all of these, we're trying to meet those needs and we're trying to push ourselves, but these beliefs always make us feel like we're not enough. And so pressure in that way causes a lot of harm because we can never relax. I call it achiever syndrome, because, you can't relax on a vacation. You can't fully be present with your spouse. You can't, just relax and go for a walk. You're always, no, I got to get back to the computer because there's something else that needs to be done, because of that pressure that if you take your eye off the prize, you're going to miss out on opportunities. It's all going to fall apart, or you're going to get blindsided. And so that is not success. That is, that's playing not to lose. Success is playing to win, right? So success is when you have peace, you have balance, more balance in your life, right? You feel like you're getting from the day instead of just getting through it. Your main goal isn't just to hit numbers, but to experience more joy. And how do you get there? The answer is you upgrade your beliefs. You're always trying to figure out what is driving the way you think, the way you feel, your habits, right? The way you're showing up. So if we can figure out what are the beliefs that are hidden, the hidden constraints, the unconscious paradigms in your mind that need to be upgraded, if you can upgrade those beliefs, it can radically improve how you're showing up and the kind of results you're experiencing. And then you got to keep that door in front of your heart open at all times. We don't like to feel uncomfortable feelings. And so it just closes the door to our heart. And we've got to make sure that we keep that door open, right? So that you can go through uncomfortable times comfortably. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs will say, I thrive under pressure. I'm not afraid of pressure. Bring it on, right? In fact, they think that if you take the pressure off, they're going to lose their mojo. You know, this is what made me millions, and you're telling me I got to change? And so they'll go the opposite, or they'll double down. And it's like, no, you're not changing, you're upgrading, you're optimizing. You're not still using the iPhone 1, are you? Right. You know, they keep optimizing the software. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so don't mind me. I was just over here taking lots of notes because this was so good. I didn't want to interrupt you, but at the same time, I wanted to interrupt you because you were talking really, really good. I'm going to go all the way back to the mental malware. I feel like this is so important, especially right now, right? I am of the belief, and I would imagine you concur, that, you know, between birth to the age of 7, all of the malware, and it's mostly malware, is being installed, right? Like what we were taught and what we caught from those who raised us really flower who we become as adults who desire to run their own business. And most of those stories that we've been telling ourselves that we would, you know, stake our claim on as truth because it's been our life experience, are actually lies, or as you called them, those hidden beliefs that we don't even realize that got there. And so my question, especially for those of us who are dealing with the achiever syndrome, I could certainly see myself in that. There was absolutely a point in time as a middle child, the only way I got attention in my home was to achieve. So I made very early a commitment to achieving so that someone would pay attention to me. And so as a result of that, I know that I overperformed and I over delivered as a mechanism to prove my worth and my worthiness, i.e. mental malware. How do we begin to undo this software that has been wreaking havoc and running the way that we operate day in and day out so that we can keep the door to our heart open and upgrade our beliefs? Because you're asking those who haven't done any of this work yet, and I know listeners on my show, they've done some of it. You're asking us to believe that everything we know to be true, that it is not actually true, and there's a better reality out there for our life. And that if we could figure out how to uninstall the malware and reinstall programming that supports us, we might actually be able to experience life with abundance, with peace, and with harmony. That's what I feel like I heard you say. And I know somebody out there right now is listening like, what is this man talking about? He's talking crazy. I've never heard of any such thing. So break that down for us.
Yeah, that was a great review. So, you know, every garden has flowers and weeds, right? And whatever you water, you're going to grow. And we have been accidentally growing a lot of weeds, you know, watering the weeds in our garden and not realizing it. And so a lot of talk therapy, a lot of coaching, a lot of YouTube videos on motivation these days are trying to talk you into having a really positive mindset. And that's going to be what upgrades that mental malware. But I find that often that's like cutting the top off of weeds, because you can jump up and down on the, you know, and walk on fire with Tony Robbins. And then a week later, you feel like you're right back to where you were, right? You weren't able to maintain that energy because you're not in a stadium with 3,000 people jumping up and down for 4 days, right? And so our programming takes over. So then we try to use sugar, alcohol, Red Bull, nicotine, you know, all kinds of different things to try to keep us focused and pushing hard. But that's like throwing dirt on top of the weeds. You know, it's not really getting to the root. And so, you know, I've been doing coaching for 30 years and I've facilitated a lot of sessions, thousands of sessions, trying to figure out what happens when you get stuck, how to get unstuck. And so instead of spending months or years on therapy or programs like that, I found that you can go right to the core belief that's like the parking brake stuck in your brain and release it in like 20 minutes.
Oh, wow. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Now you're talking. Okay. So
Yes.
tell us, what do we do? How do we make this happen?
Yeah. All right. I'm going to break it down and just give you exactly what I would do, over the course of a couple of sessions. Right. So you take you into my office, which these days I'm doing all my sessions over the phone anyway. And so in session 1, we do the awakening. And with the awakening, what I would do is I was working with you and you're still feeling that pressure, right? You're still feeling that pressure to perform, right? That even though you have all the success, you've done so much good, you're helping so many other people now, you still get that feeling that you got to keep pushing because like you said, it defines your worth. And if you're not pushing, maybe we don't feel as worthy as we used to because our brain says, yeah, I accomplished this, but what about all the other stuff? Right. And it starts to not care. It only cares about what you're going to do next or what you haven't done yet or what someone else has done better than you. And so then it pushes that button and I'm like, all right, well, get in touch with that feeling. You start to feel that feeling that comes up. And then what I would do is just take you back. In fact, I'm tempted to do it now if you wanted to do a little demo.
Sure. Listen, I'm game. I'm willing.
Let's play a little game then. Yeah. So I want you to go ahead and you can do this with your eyes open or eyes closed. It's up to you. And people that are listening, if you're driving, just listen to us, but don't go through it with us.
Right.
Okay. So yeah. So I want you to go ahead and that pressure that would come up inside, that middle child pressure that made you feel like you had to be the achiever so you could stand out or so people would like or love you or notice you more. I want you to get in touch with the feeling that would come up inside when you'd have that.
You want me to tell you what the feeling is? Or where?
No, I just want you to know that you feel it. Yeah. Okay. And you connect with it. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to count from 3 down to 1. As I do, I want you to just imagine stepping into that feeling and following it all the way back to the very first time you ever felt that way. Mm-hmm. Now, you're not going to relive anything. You're more like observing it like it's on a television set across the room and you got this magic remote so you can stop or fast forward at any time you want. You'll be safe and aware the whole time. So I'm going to count from 3 down to 1. You step into that feeling. Just imagine following it all the way back to the very first time you ever felt that way. Go ahead and step into that feeling now with the count of 3. Just drifting back like a bridge through time. 2, almost there. And 1. And just notice whatever comes to mind. Are you inside or outside? You can tell me.
Inside.
Alone or with someone?
With someone.
Now imagine that someone over there and you, how old are you over there? First number that comes to mind.
6.
Now what's going on with 6 over there?
I'm confused. I'm a little angry. I'm frustrated. I don't know if I would have used those words at 6, but as I look back on myself now, that's what I'm feeling.
Yes.
Yeah, I just got called out for something that I didn't do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it brings up all those feelings. Now, I want you to take that remote control. I want you to pause that little memory there. So 6 is safe. It's just kind of frozen. So I can ask you a quick question. Okay. Would you say that you have gained, and you already know the answer to this, would you say you've gained more wisdom, more life experience, more understanding of how the world works, even more power than you had when you were 6?
Yes.
Yeah, like so much, right? So much. But 6 doesn't have that yet, and she doesn't know it. So would you be willing to take those resources and that power that you now have back in time so you can go set her free?
I would.
Outstanding. Good for you. It takes a lot of courage to do this, especially in this format. So good for you. So I want you to go ahead at your current age with all those resources, step into that feeling, fall all the way back. Imagine walking into that situation and unfreezing it. And there's 6. And she's just such a little thing, right? When you're 6-year-old, you're so little. You're just a little kid, right? And you come in here and you are successful and you are powerful and you are strong and you are confident and you walk right up to her and she sees you and whoa, she's surprised. I mean, you can imagine if your future you just walked into the room, but she is also relieved. I want you to walk right up to her and just give her a great big hug. Just give her a great big squeeze. Let her know that she's so special that you found a way to travel back in time just to let her know it. Also let her know that she's a diamond in the rough. Diamonds are not formed with feathers. Diamonds are formed under pressure for a long time, and when they emerge, they're valuable and sparkly and beautiful, but they are also so strong. They can cut through steel. And this little girl is being forged. She's so strong, she'll be able to cut through any obstacle. But we're going to help her do it with a sense of peace. So she's not trying to prove her worth. She knows her worth. She's not trying to play not to lose. She's playing to win. And so what I want you to do is I want you to ask her, what does she need most from you right now? Does she need, because she might want it from other people, but she needs it from you the most. We all need it from ourselves the most. Does she need more love? So she knows you're going to love her no matter what, that she's already more than enough. She don't have to prove it or earn it. Or maybe she wants that self-acceptance. So she knows you're going to always be there, have her back, be her best friend, be her biggest cheerleader, always compliment her. Maybe she wants more support. Instead of focusing on what's wrong or what needs to be better, you can focus on what's right and help her feel proud of herself. Maybe she needs to feel some protection. Maybe she needs to know that other people are going to act that way, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what shows up. What matters is how you show up. You can feel calm under pressure. Doesn't matter what happens to you. You're going to focus on what you are going to bring to the situation. So ask her, you need more love, self-acceptance, support, protection, or something else? Tell me what she says.
She says she just needs to know she's going to be okay, and she wants to be safe. She wants to feel safe.
Yeah. Would you be willing to help her feel safe and to help her know that she's going to be okay no matter what happens?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because imagine what that would feel like to know that no matter what happens, you're okay. No matter what you experience, God's got you, right? So it doesn't matter what, you're not running out, you're running up, right? Whatever you got going on, everything works out in the end. If it hasn't worked out yet, it just means it isn't the end. Yeah. So I want you to then to go ahead and pour into that little girl, make her feel loved, make her feel safe, let her know that everything's going to be okay and that you got her, you're going to take care of her, and that she's just being forged and that there's a plan for her and that she can show up with peace and joy, and she just needs to keep that door in front of her heart open, and everything else will take care of itself. So go ahead and take a moment, pour into her in that way. Let me know when you've done that.
Okay.
Now I want you to imagine that you're surrounded by this beautiful light of protection, God's light. You imagine taking some of that and surrounding six in that same beautiful light. You both look like angels or Jedi Knights shining in this protective light. But you notice there's a little dark cloud of self-doubt hanging over her still, or a little bit of resentment, a little bit of rebellion. And you decide that that kind of energy closes the door to the heart, and you want to keep that door open. So as you said, you're going to make sure you protect her, make her feel safe and loved so she's okay. So walk up there, reach into her light, grab that dark cloud of fear, throw it into the light. It is no match for the light. When you throw it into the light, it evaporates. And suddenly that beautiful light of peace that transcends all human understanding pours down deep into every cell of her being, lighting her up inside. She is just glowing now. Now remember, it's not just what we go through or experience, it's the beliefs that form in our mind that influence us as adults. So I want you to ask her, what was that old fearful belief, that negative belief that she used to have about herself that you just evaporated away into the light?
Yeah,
you want to share it?
That she wasn't safe. That whenever it's a parent that is there, whenever the parent comes, he's coming to chastise and to make her feel bad instead of telling her how much she's loved. And now she understands that she is loved. You know, the first thing that I would tell her to do would just be to breathe. We get so much power from breathing. If we can just silence everything and take 3 deep breaths, we can be restored. The energy is moving to our brain. Our survival brain is shutting down. Our success brain is coming back online. And we realize that there is a way to feel safe in that moment. So that's the first thing. And that's the most important thing she needed at that particular point in time.
That's beautiful. That's right. When you take those 3 breaths, do it through your nose. Now we got that last step. Now, so what's the new belief, right? Because beliefs are just opinions. If you have a belief that I'm not safe, And then it sets up an anxiety response inside of you. So every time you're in a relationship, you're going to feel like you're going to get in trouble, or someone's going to disapprove of you. So now you're chasing validation.
Yeah.
If you're in a work situation, every time the phone rings, all of a sudden you get a little knot in your stomach because you're just bracing because you know it's going to be bad news, right? So it sets up these dynamics. But if that belief was shifted, and she could believe anything she wanted, instead of being, I'm not safe, what would she want to believe instead that would set her free and give her more peace the whole rest of her life?
She would want to believe that she is always safe and that she is always worthy, no matter what. There are no conditions in which she is not worthy.
Amen. And that's right. And she just heard you say that. I want you to imagine she runs over to you and gives you a great big hug. Smiles all around as you hug her back. You imagine absorbing her into your heart.
Yeah, I've done lots of inner child work. So she's a little DJ, and I talk to her all the time and just remind her of just how much power she does have and how impactful she is to be. So, I think a lot of times people do a lot of future self work. I believe in doing the inner child work. So I think that this is a really powerful exercise. And I hope that everyone who's listening and or watching, you did this for yourself, or come back and listen after you listen through the first time and listen to what Tim is saying and follow the steps and go back to your earliest memory that impacts the way that you find yourself being today, that is contrary to who you truly desire to be, and talk to your inner child. Give him or her permission to release any of the fear, any of the doubt, any of the pressure, any of the danger signals that their nervous system is impacting their ability to be able to think and reason today. Like, when you do this work, you open up. I love the way you say it, Tim. You open up the door to their heart, right? The Bible says out of the heart flows everything, right? We have so much power to offer the world when we just keep our heart open, and being able to self-soothe and self-regulate so that you can open your heart is such a powerful gift to give to yourself, to give to your business, to give to your family. Oh my goodness. It's a game changer.
Yes. I mean, I can drop the mic now for you. That was it. That's it right there. That was beautiful.
So
That's
good.
exactly right.
Oh my gosh, so good. So you literally do this in the first session with a client. You have them do their inner child release in the first session. That is so powerful.
So what I learned, though, I want to make a distinction, because it's not just taking care of that little child, although that's essential, right? Giving yourself that love, giving yourself the permission, figuring out what it's really going on. But what I found is that you've got to find the belief. At the very end, we focused on what was the belief, because that belief becomes the software in your brain. And so you got to figure out what that belief was. And if you get someone who's operating from the belief that I'm not safe, you can imagine how they're going to show up in life. Everything feels like a battle. And if you have a belief in your mind that I'm safe no matter what, I'm loved no matter what, I'm already enough, then life becomes a pleasure. Life becomes a joy. Life's about giving. Life's about collaboration. Life's about what we can do together, right? Instead of competition and always, trying to beat everybody or get to the next level. And so so sometimes people are afraid that, well, you're going to lose, mess with my mojo. No, we're just enhancing, what already makes you amazing, and then just releasing the parking brakes that you don't even know are set. And of course, that's just step one. There's a few more experiences I've developed over the years that free people from the other issues or the bad habits or the other limiting beliefs that might be in there, or just from the chronic stress that we just kind of absorb as we charge through in life. But that's why people are able to shift so fast, because this isn't positive affirmations. This is a core foundational belief. And when you upgrade it, it's upgraded. So it's sustainable. It's not something that wears off.
Right. And what I love about that, just to further reinforce what you're saying, you're not updating it today. You're going back to the root to update it.
Mm-hmm.
And this might sound like, this is just a mental exercise. This isn't really the thing. But if you actually can get back to that moment with my eyes closed, I saw my 6-year-old self. I was having a conversation with my 6-year-old self, which lets me know that I am actually back in that moment where I get to reinforce what I wanted her to take away as a belief instead of what she was believing, which would, had I known that at 6, would have saved me a whole lot of challenges on this side, right? So it's really powerful in this work. It can work. I have another question for you. This kind of popped in as you were talking just now. And I want to bring us back to today. I think the answer may be to take us back to our inner child. Why do so many high performers and high achievers feel the pressure after they've already proven that they are successful? Like, why is it lingering that they have to keep trying to demonstrate their worth and worthiness?
Well, it's what you said right before you asked the question, because you already knew the answer. You can have all kinds of evidence, but if the jury in your head still has this sentence about you, then, you won't be paroled from your mental prison. You've got to go bring new information to the jury and say, hey, I was innocent the whole time, and get a retrial and then be set free. Right. And so that's really, that's really what it's about. We've got to go through that experience of recognizing that we had, like I said, those parking brakes in there, some of those limiting beliefs that we didn't know were there. And that's why people get stuck. That's why people go in and out of rehab. That's why people keep relapsing or keep getting married 2, 3, 4 times, because the beliefs that are driving that deep underneath have never actually been resolved. And so that's why I go there first. I mean, you'll notice that we got to 6 years old in seconds.
Yeah.
Right. If you did that with talk therapy, that could have been years of free associating and asking questions and how'd you feel, and talk to the little kid inside of you, but never actually upgrade the belief. You feel better, you're awesome, I love you, right? But if you don't upgrade the belief that I'm not safe, you're missing it. Yeah. Right. And that's the part that people keep missing. And that's what I keep telling everybody everywhere, that find the beliefs, be a belief hunter. And as you can trace whatever you're at back to a belief. And if you upgrade that belief at the very beginning, it's like dominoes. If you push the first one over, all the other ones go over. You don't have to go through every bad thing that you've ever been through. Right? Just find the core one and upgrade the belief, and that's why my last book was called One Belief Away, right? You're just one belief away from your next big breakthrough.
So good. And here's the other thing that I'm thinking about as I hear you talking right now. I'm thinking about, or I'm wondering, and I think I know the answer, but I want to hear what you have to say. Like, what is the belief usually that is sitting underneath of the ambition, the pressure, I have to achieve no matter what? Like, what is sitting beneath that's causing this in the first place?
I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. That fear that I'm not enough, and if I'm not enough, I won't be loved, causes the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, the fear of being humiliated, the fear of being hurt or unsafe, right? That fear of that I'm not enough. And it's like an infection that we all have. It's where insecurity comes from. And so the cure for insecurity, the cure for imposter syndrome, the cure for self-sabotage is self-love. And when you know that you're more than enough, then, you can give that to yourself, and you can allow yourself to receive it from God. And so when you know that God loves you and then you love you too, you're unstoppable, because there's nothing to be afraid of anymore.
That is so good. Oh my gosh. I had to write that one down. The cure for everything. So self-sabotage, all the things is self-love. So true. I think about that just based on what's been happening in my life over the last 6 months or so. Tim, I'm in the process of an amazing evolution, and I'm so excited and grateful for the things that are shifting and who I'm becoming. And when I think about the catalyst of this latest evolution, it is absolutely self-love. Like, literally 2 years ago, I was 198 pounds. I had high cholesterol. I had high blood pressure, and I was pre-diabetic. I went for my physical at 48, and the doctor did not say these words, but what I heard was, Darnyelle Antoinette, you are going to die if you don't get your life together. And for the first time ever, and at my life in 48 years, it clicked. And all of a sudden, I no longer felt invincible. I no longer felt like I had all the time in the world to make the decision about treating my body like a temple instead of a trash can.
Yes.
And so I made a decision, and I love that Emerson quote. Once you decide, all of the universe rearranges itself to bring you what you decided. And so I made a decision, and that decision was that I was going to treat my temple as a temple and not a trash can. Like that was it. And because I had been eating my unfulfillment, right? I had been abusing myself in the name of what I was calling self-care, but it really wasn't. It was self-sabotage, if we're being honest, right? And I've been radically honest with myself over the last 2 years, and I made a decision, and within a year, I released 60 pounds, which I have kept off for more than a year. And I treat my body like the temple that it is and not a trash can. Literally from making that one decision and rewiring the belief, because I realize now, Tim, that the whole reason why it ever got that bad is because I didn't think I was worthy and I didn't think I was enough. Like, I know it won't sound crazy to you because you've worked with so many leaders who have experienced these types of things, but I would go and I would get a massage, or I would get a pedicure, and the pedicurist or the massage therapist would be inflicting physical pain on me, and I wouldn't say anything. I did not feel worthy to speak up for myself. And I know people are listening like, Darnyelle, how can that be? You are this and you are that and you have all of this. The things that you have externally has nothing to do with the work that needs to be done internally. And I finally got to that point where the rubber met the road, and I could no longer live inside of the paradox of saying one thing out of my mouth, but allowing something else to enter my life experience. The two had to become one, and it changed everything for me. And as I'm in this evolution, as I'm continuing to be radically honest with myself, as I'm living into the belief that I've always been worthy, what I wish my 6-year-old self knew, because it would have stopped her from making so many decisions that she made throughout from 60 to age 48. Everything would have changed.
It also helped you become who you are, though. Absolutely. Right? You've taken your pain, you turn it into your purpose. You've taken your message, you're turning it into your message now. And so for you to be able to have those experiences can help you connect with others who are going through that right now. And they have authenticity because you've gone through it. Right. And so they feel that you're real. And, you know, there's two things I want to point out, because that was just such a beautiful, powerful story. Right. And the first thing that is really important for us to know is that a lot of people look like they got it all together, but then you take a peek under the hood and it's kind of a train wreck in there. Right. And I've heard you say this on your podcast, that success sometimes can feel like a trap, because now you got more pressure, you got more people looking at you, you got to maintain this image. Right. And you think that, success keeps you from maybe sometimes confiding in others, because you've got this image to uphold, or you've got your social media videos all got to make it look like you're living your best life now, and got it all together. And then you go to bed crying your eyes out. Right. And so, or it's a real mind trip in your head, because you're like, hey, I thought that once I had this money, that all my life was going to be all better. Right. And that's kind of like the core message, one of the core messages of your program here, which is why this show is so incredibly powerful. So if you have successful friends, make sure you're getting them to subscribe to this show and share it, because they need to hear this, because nobody else is talking like this to them, and they're just feeling very isolated and alone. So the second thing that I want to bring up that was really powerful is it shifted. A lot of people set intentions that I'm going to lose weight, and then they don't, right? The reason it worked for you is because you set the intention, and it was about loving yourself. It wasn't about losing weight. It wasn't about depriving yourself. It was about loving yourself. And when I was helping people with weight loss, I found that whenever you make it an act of self-love, when you're making a deposit into yourself, when you drink that water, when you eat that healthy food, that apple instead of the bag of chips, when you go for a walk instead of telling yourself you don't have time because you got to send more email, right? Then that's a withdrawal from your health account. You got this health and wellness bank account and people are bouncing checks all day long. But when you make deposits, when you're eating the apple, when you're drinking the water, when you're going for the walk, those are deposits. And if you're doing it because this is an act of self-love, you're going to do it more. So people are always associating pleasure and pain to different activities. We associate pleasure to work because it makes us feel safe. We associate pain to anything that isn't work because it doesn't make us feel as safe. In fact, what you were ultimately doing, you weren't trying to sabotage yourself. You were trying to soothe and comfort yourself. That's where the eating was coming from. Yeah, you were trying to connect. And that was a fast way to do it. And our whole, country tells us that that's the way to do it, through food. Food is love, right? That's why I call them treats. Even though it's bad for us and poisoning us and giving us diabetes. Right. So when you shift that, which you did, not only do you achieve your goal, but you maintain the goal, because now it's always about loving yourself. It's not about a diet that you suddenly achieved your goal and now you got off the plan.
Yeah, that's so good, Tim. Thank you for that. I appreciate that in so many ways. I'm curious, do you feel like achievers secretly fear irrelevance more than failure?
Some. Mm-hmm. It's different for everybody, right? I don't think that a lot of achievers are afraid of failure. Okay. And, high performers, it's just feedback to us. Yeah. Right? Get feedback, correct on the fly, keep on going. You only fail if you stop. Right? So I don't know if we are afraid of failure. Some of us are afraid of being irrelevant, or maybe people don't care about us anymore, or we're going to lose our worth, right? Or our positioning, our status. So for some, it's that. For others, they don't care about that. They just don't know what it is. They just constantly have this pressure and they figure it's because I got 1,000 things going on all the time. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I think I've heard you say that on your show, right? And so, yeah. And so, yeah. And so, I know I got Darnyelle in my head all the time,
Well, there are worse things to have in your head, Tim. Let's so work.
Oh, I think it's a blessing. You're a blessing. You're this angel on my shoulders and all this good stuff. So, which is important because, a lot of my clients are very successful coaches. And, just because this stuff doesn't mean that you're fully integrated, or that you don't have your blind spots or your own hidden, constraints or bottlenecks. And so I'm always listening to other people, and that's how I met you. That's how I wanted to be on your show. And so, it's important that you're always growing, and this is the best way to do it. If you don't want to go without, keep going within.
Yeah, I love that. You have some really great one-liners. Like, people always say that to me. You have some great one-liners, but I've written down several of yours. I really especially love that every garden has flowers and weeds, and what you water grows.
Yeah. I had to come up with simple metaphors. That happened from going on TV. I had to learn how to talk in sound bites, and just come up with really simple, fast thing that everybody understands.
And so to resonate and respond, which I think is really, really powerful. Now, you talked earlier about upgrading the belief, right? And how we actually get there. So let me ask you this question. If the belief that is driving the ambition and the pressure is outdated, is the only way to upgrade the belief to go back to the root, or are there other things that we can do without losing our edge?
So nobody loses their edge when they go back and they upgrade.
Okay.
Right?
I like that.
They optimize. Yes. So you might not come across as intense, which is a blessing, because some people are like, I like my intensity. And I'm like, I know you do, but nobody around you does.
Right.
Okay. I know you're the money man, or you're the one that made it happen. You're the one that makes it rain, but you are stressing everybody else around you. And a lot of times they're like, I don't care, and they're not a really good client for me, because, I want people who do care about those around them. They might be rich, but they're not wealthy. Right? Because they're...
Hold up.
All right.
Hold. Stop the presses, Tim. You said they might be rich, but they are not wealthy. I have so many connotations running through my brain right now. Break that down for me.
Well, so you can have money, but you might not be happy. I mean, you see very powerful people on TV and they never smile, right? They always look stressed. They're always going to war. They're always cutting people down, right? And using criticism instead of lifting people up, and creating divide instead of creating collaboration. And so you wonder, what's going on inside of them. And then you find that they're estranged from their children. They've been through several divorces. And going through a divorce doesn't mean there's something, that you're a terrible person. Sometimes things like that happen, right? But these are just red flags. These are signal distortions. These are ways of recognizing when there's something else going on, and on the outside, it looks good on paper, but on the inside, these are the problems that cause us to feel stressed out. And so that's why in the Bible, it said it's harder to get a rich man to get through the eye of a needle than to get into heaven. Not because money is bad, but in fact, there's a lot of stories that talk about the importance of using your good works to increase your wealth, right? Just don't make money the idol. Keep your eyes on God. So, and a lot of time that's what we do. We make money and the numbers in our bank account, the golden idol. And that's why people never find peace, no matter how much of that they have, because they're looking at the wrong prize. And so, I think that a wealthy person is someone who's giving and caring and loving and lifts other people up and shares what they have because they come from abundance and they know no matter how much they give, it's just going to create more. Yeah. Right. And that's what abundance is. And so that's why I always say you want to be rich or you want to be wealthy, because I believe there's a difference.
Absolutely. I agree. And I thought that would be your response, but I wanted to make sure that we took an opportunity to pull back, because I think it's so easy to focus entirely on the external and assume that the internal is going to bend at the command of the external. And it just doesn't work that way, right? If we are not intentional about what's happening in, then we are not going to be able to determine what comes out, right? And so it's just such a powerful recognition and remembrance that we have a responsibility, if we want to really live at the balance that you talked about earlier, to have more balance. When you said, what are you getting from the day versus getting through the day? I just love the reframe that gives me. It's like when I said to a client last week I wanted to help them move from have to get to. And as I was having this conversation with her, I literally watched her shoulder soften, because I said, no, you don't have to, you get to. And I said, now, and then I saw her visibly change. And I said, tell me what just came up for you. And she said something to the effect of, I can't tell you the last time that I looked at the work that I do as a privilege instead of a burden. Yeah. And I think everything is just about your come from, right? Like, you can be abundance. I wear this "What Would Abundance Do" bracelet, or you can be lack and scarcity. Right. And it's merely a focal point and a decision, and how we get to choose that. Tim, this has been absolutely amazing. Like, there's probably 2 more hours I want to spend talking to you and just bouncing off your brain. Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back, because I love even the exercise that you walked me through, allowing me to demonstrate that for the audience. So powerful. I want to give you the last word, and then we'll move into our Move to Millions wisdom questions. But what's coming up for you? What's on your heart that before we close out this conversation, you need to share? The floor is yours.
Yes. Well, I just want to thank you for having the courage to play and go through that experience, because sometimes taking someone through it is worth so much more than just describing what it's like. Right. And so I know that was very impactful for a lot of people. And just know that you're already more than enough. And like you said, you're just one shift away from looking at things, these micro shifts. I'm always trying to help people. You are too. We're just trying to help people get their shift together. And so by focusing on one little, if you can come from gratitude instead of feeling like you have, all these things to do and never enough time, because as soon as you start talking to yourself like that, it closes the door to your heart again. right? Because we don't like to feel any kind of discomfort. If you can open that door up and say, how can I bring joy, to this? The quality of your life is being determined by the quality of your unconscious beliefs and the questions you ask yourself all day long. And so if you can start asking yourself more power questions, like, how can I bring joy to this situation, right? It's not time management, it's thought management, right? You can slow down. And if you think you can't, what's the belief driving that, right? I'm going to drop the ball. Something bad's going to happen. You don't understand. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I got 37 tabs open on my computer right now on Chrome, right? I got to start closing them down, but I'll forget something important, right? And so it's coming from fear. It's that playing not to lose. So if you just keep playing to win, you're more than enough. You've already won. Everything's a bonus round. And then you just keep coming back to center. Like you said, breathe through your nose and then open that door to your heart. Ask a better question. What's the outcome that I want? How do I want this to go? One more metaphor. Your mind's like a GPS. You wouldn't tell it where you don't want to go because it'll take you there. That's what we do in our mind. I can't lose this and I got this going on, and we keep telling our GPS what we don't want. And then we keep moving in that direction because it's how it works. So you got to take a pause and ask yourself, what do I want? How do I want to show up to this space? And do it as an act of self-love first. And then whatever you're working on, figure out how you can tie that to how it helps bring love into the world. And then every day just becomes a little more joyful.
That was amazing. Oh my gosh, that was so good. We got to stop playing not to lose, people. Stop playing not to lose. Instead, play to give yourself the love that you deserve, that you desire, and that will help you to shift the world. Oh my gosh, so good, so good, so good. Okay, Tim, before I let you go, my closing question is, what is the book, the quote, and the tool that has made a difference on your move to millions? You can give them to me in whichever order. Book, quote, tool, back over to you.
Well, one book that helps me a lot is this one. Yes. So I got my Bible, and I remember Bob Proctor told me one time, he said, I've got this one book on my desk. I've had it there for decades, and I'm a big fan of Bob Proctor, but he said, it's Think and Grow Rich. And I said, that's fabulous. I've read that book and it's got deep philosophy, but there's a better one.
I know that's right.
And so, yeah, so that one's helped a lot. I'm always reading books and listening and podcasts are really good. I've got my new favorite one out called Move to Millions. So if you haven't heard that one, like and subscribe. Yeah, that's a big one of mine that I really like. And so that's the book. The shifting really is just the one belief away technique. I keep thinking about my own beliefs all the time. Right. And so that's the tool that I use all the time. What do I have to believe right now, to feel this way? And what would I rather believe instead? It's just two questions. What would I rather? What am I believing?
To make sure everybody caught it.
Yeah. So the first question is, what would I have to believe to think the way I'm feeling or feel the way I'm feeling? And then what would I rather believe instead? So you start becoming more intentional. Instead of your calendar running you start running your calendar, your schedule, your relationships, right? Your health.
So good. Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah.
And then
and then a quote. Quotes. There's two of them that come to mind. First, from my pal Les Brown, and he says, "When you're going through hell, don't stop." And the second one was from Zig Ziglar, who I got to meet, and he said, "Ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what they're built for. Neither are you."
That's good.
Yeah. And the quote that I like to bring.
I'm listening.
Okay, the quote that I like is, "Your biggest breakthroughs are hiding in the places you don't want to go."
Oh my gosh, that is good. I can't even write fast enough. I'm going to have to listen back to my own episodes so I can get some more notes. Tim.
Yeah.
This was amazing. Thank you so much. First of all, just thank you for being you. I am so grateful and appreciative of an opportunity to experience your greatness, your brilliance, and what is baked into you. It's who you be. And I am so grateful to have experienced your being. Thank you so very much. The entire time you have been here, I have felt a peace that, much like the peace of Jesus, that surpasses all understanding, because you are firmly planted and anchored into who you be. And that is what is pouring out of your soul. And so I thank you from the bottom of my heart for every word that you have spoken, for every tip that you have shared, and for every metaphor that you have given that I hope helps at least one person in the audience rethink the way that they are living so that they can experience life at the level that was already determined for them before they were formed in their mother's womb. Thank you so much for being here. I feel enriched. I feel full. I feel overflow. And I'm just so honored and grateful to have spent this time with you. And for those of you who have been listening, listen again one more time after that and share it with a friend, because everything that you need to know in order to experience everything that God desires for you to experience is in your life right now. And I've probably talked about it on this here podcast. Oh, you thought I was playing. You thought I was joking when I told you that my conversation with Tim Shurr was a game changer? Yeah, no, y'all know I don't joke and I don't hyperbolize. I speak the truth. I have pages upon pages of notes. And it was hard to take as many notes as I took because I was trying to pay attention to every word that proceeded out of his mouth. It was really, really powerful. There are so many things I want to pull in. I mean, he said it's about getting from your day, not getting through your day. Like that, game changer, number one. Learning how to keep the door of your heart open, game changer, number two. Every garden has flowers and weeds. What are you watering? Game changer, number three. The cure for self-sabotage and self-limiting beliefs is self-love. Game changer, number four. And it's about loving yourself. And then when he shared his quotes at the end, oh my gosh, he said, your biggest breakthrough is in a place where you're unwilling to go, where you haven't gone yet. I cannot tell you how excited I am that you had an opportunity to listen to this conversation with Tim. I already know that you will listen and or watch it over and over and over. And God bless you. Why wouldn't you? There were so many gems to unpack. We've put all of his details in the show notes. He's even got a gift that he'd love to share with you that's there as well. Listen again. Get one more nugget to elevate you one rung higher. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Thank you for joining me for the Move to Millions podcast. Every seven-figure CEO has a divine design, and yours is waiting to be revealed. Take the Ascension Archetype quiz today at movetomillionsquiz.com, and you'll uncover how you're wired for wealth and what needs to shift in order for you to make the move with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. Now, if this episode blessed you, do me a favor, subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And always remember, millions are your birthright, and to access them, you need only move. Take care.